Johann, can you please give me sharing permission so that I can quickly share the starting PPT and then we can get started?
You have it now.
I hope you all are able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruth.
Awesome. Okay. So I think we're ready to go. Thank you everyone for being here, wherever you are in the world, whichever nap that you're missing out on right now. We really appreciate you all joining us. So welcome to, I believe, the 15th SAIMA session. So all of you Salesforce architects in the making, welcome. It's lovely to have you. And as we've been saying, I think today is actually a super interesting one, and possibly a little bit different to some of the sessions that you'll have done before. Maybe we might end up looking at some different skills, but we'll see what our panelists have to say about that later. But I think possibly now it makes sense for me as a marketing manager who's ended up co-hosting a SAIMA session to possibly explain why I'm here and who I am. So I'm Ruth, it's lovely to meet you all. I'm the marketing manager at Proven Works. We're a small but mighty ISV partner based in the UK. We've been a Salesforce partner since 2009, and we sell 4 main apps on the AppExchange. And this year is really great because we've just won a Salesforce Partner Innovation Award. So we know a lot about AppExchange Apps, and we've got a lot of experience there. Now, I work with a lot of technical people, some software architects, and my job as a marketing manager, first and foremost, is to translate what our technical team says about our products into something that an AppExchange audience can understand. So that translation process. So I thought we'd just kick it off with a few examples of translations just to get us warmed up to possibly more of a business brain that we might be talking about today, as well as those technical elements that we're talking about. So if my technical team comes to me and talks about an intuitive interface, how do I translate that to the AppExchange? I might say it's user-friendly, and that suits an AppExchange audience. At that level, that's what we love to see. So that's the kind of translation we're working with. Another one that I thought about was an automated process. How do we translate that into business speak, into an AppExchange audience? It saves time. Super simple. And then a few fun ones.
Is anybody taking notes, or do I have to do it myself?
Yeah, this is all for you guys. Here we go. So this is hopefully useful. Another one, which I don't even understand the first language that this is in, additional JSON output. You will probably understand that more than I do. There we go. You're like, yes, this is talking my language. I don't know what that means. All I need to be able to translate that to is customizable. You can take that and you can do something with it. Does that make sense? You probably,
yes.
You understand.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, and then the very last one, something that's a bit more specific to one of our products called address tools, makes an API call to our address verification service. Well, that's a bit of a wordy one, but you all love it probably. And then we translate it to the language that I speak. You can verify your addresses quickly. So I'm really excited to start this session with you. Why don't we have a quick skip over to the next slide so you can kind of see the brains behind this operation. So I don't think everyone is here today, but if you haven't been here before, here's your leadership team. We'd be nowhere without them as this group. I've now watched so many SAIMA videos that I feel like I know them all very well. So a huge thank you to the team here for organising this. And then if we move over again, here we are, here's today's session. My co-host and I will be leading this group, and we'll be talking to our 2 wonderful panelists. I think my co-host doesn't really need an introduction, but possibly, could I ask you to give one anyway?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction, and I'm really happy to have you with us today because you are the right person to host this session. Yeah, so myself, Meera Nair, I'm part of SAIMA team and with Salesforce platform for the past couple of years. And also, I would like to invite Johann and Jakub to the session. Johann, would you mind go ahead and give a short introduction of yourself? I'm sure it's not needed, but just...
I'm a Salesforce architect from Berlin. I do a couple of things. I have, my favorite job in the world is having my AppExchange apps, which is, yes, it's just too much fun. This is mostly my hobby weekends and evenings job, the AppExchange apps. Takes more, and then during the day, I'm a CTA coach as well as a Salesforce architect freelancer.
Awesome.
Thank you.
My name is Jakub Stefaniak. I'm as well CTA. I had the pleasure to prepare for it together with Johann. So it how we met and how this invitation for today came. On a daily basis, I'm engineering director at Aquiva Labs. It's platform development outsourcer. So I'm doing quite lots of AppExchange products, but as always with the career, when you go into architecture, there is no so much time to code on your own. So it's how I build one app in my free time, and yeah, here we are.
So your picture is really interesting, Jakub. Anything else to add?
Oh yeah, I picked it because I've seen Ruth's picture and I decided that I cannot have just like, like old men with serious face picture. I'm designing board games and tabletop games as well, but it's more like a hobby, and yeah. By the way, it's quite similar to system thinking, so it's another maybe good session for architects, how to do games and maybe to Salesforce.
Oh, nice to hear. Thank you so much, Johann and Jakub. So a quick introduction about SAIMA. I'm sure if you have attended our session before, you have seen this. So we are a team to support each other in preparing for the technical architect certification by creating and sharing content that helps to prepare for the certification. So if you have got more ideas on what we could do extra, please let us know. And you might have seen some recent sessions from us, especially Johann training some of our aspiring architects on CTA journey. So those all are really helping many others in the environment. So thankful to the team actually. And just a disclaimer, we are not affiliated with Salesforce in any way, like this is an independent team. So content is our personal opinion. If there is something to correct, please let us know. We are very happy to change things. Yeah.
Cool. Ruth. Yeah, then some quick housekeeping rules for the session. So thank you for everyone. I think you're all doing it so far. Just keep muting yourself whilst our panelists are speaking. If you do have questions, and hopefully you do, then just pop them in the chat and Meera and I will absolutely get to them at the end of the session and make sure those questions are answered. And it shouldn't need to be said, but none of us are perfect. We don't know everything. And if you do spot a mistake, by all means, please do let us know. Pop something in the chat, show us where you found some research, send us some links. This is a community where we can learn from each other. So you're absolutely a part of that. Don't be afraid to use the chat for that. And if you're interested in presenting or hosting, please do reach out because I'm living proof that everybody is welcome to a SAIMA session. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room to get involved. And that's how this is going to work, is by everyone sharing and learning from each other. So please do get involved. I think we're now ready to hand over to our panelists.
Then let me get started. Thanks a lot for the introduction, Ruth. So maybe the background, how Ruth and I actually came to know each other. Ruth has been coaching me all the way on how to market maps. We have been discussing a lot of ideas and back and forth, and I think I can summarize what we discussed with: be who you are. Work with, don't pretend to be somebody you're not. So in my case, I'm a small independent AppExchange Apps. I'm not a big company. I don't have to pretend to be something different. And I found personally success in doing this way. But so maybe back, why do I do this? Be ready for success. We all are in the Salesforce career for the long run. I think none of us does it for the money alone. This is something I learned a long time ago. And the same is for my AppExchange Apps. I want to be ready for success. This is just a fun fact, but I just dropped off a call like literally before that, and I got a contract by absolute coincidence as a Salesforce architect releasing an AppExchange app for one of the biggest banks in the world. And I could, today we had the project kickoff, and in the kickoff project, I could say, oh yeah, by the way, I already have 4 apps on the AppExchange. You can trust me. This is not in any way clean. So be ready for success. Again, this is the disclaimer, you saw it before. And the important one here is I'm one of the least successful ISVs on the market. Don't listen to anything I'm saying. Ruth and her team, they are successful. I'm not rich. I'm not living off it. I have a couple of installs. I have a couple of paying customers, but please listen to the more successful ones. I want to talk today about why it made me a better architect, not how I got rich off building apps. You know what I mean? It's not this is also, I had to learn actually the hard way. It's not a get rich quick scheme, unfortunately. I think it never was. No, seriously, every ISV I talked to said it takes years, usually 5 to 6 years to make money off apps. It's a long business. And I can tell from my side, the sales cycles, even for my apps who cost only $7 a month per company, I have sales cycles of 6 to 12 months. I think it doesn't make actually any difference how expensive the app is. Getting a credit card in a company is always the same effort if it's $1 or $700. But before that, Storytime. We all remember this. It was the 3rd lockdown in my country, February 2021. It was my post CTA burnout. So I had a CTA, or I was done with CTA. I was kind of bored, let's be honest, sitting at home. And I still remember I was on one of these Corona walks, when we did all these walks. I was like, why not build AppExchange apps? So what I did is I sorted the idea exchange by most voted open idea. That's it. Then I did a lot of research. I interviewed people. I did coding. I solutioned. I did all the trailheads. This is my one learning. If anybody asks me how to actually get it done, just do whatever Salesforce tells you, and don't skip a step. You know, Jakub, what I mean in the documentation? Don't skip a step. Just do everything end to end what Salesforce tells you. 4 weeks later, I had my first app live. It was really amazing, especially the first 8 to 16 weeks of the app. I was checking the installs every minute. It was, it's so exciting. 6 months later, I have more than 150 production installs, about 30 5-star reviews, which I'm really proud of, a handful of paying customers, and I lose a lot of money. Seriously, I lose so much money on it. I think my running cost of my website, the insurance I had to pay, I have a MailChimp account, I pay for, what else do I pay? And I pay for a software for doing nice video cuts and stuff like that. I think they exceed my revenue by far. And if you factor in the $2,000 I have to pay per security review for paid apps on Salesforce, I will never make money, and the time I invest, I will never make back that money. I'm still a winner. It's still something I would repeat every single time, and it's still one of my favorite things in the world. So why? Yes, it was the boredom, but it was also curiosity and sense of adventure. Doing something different. I thought about money. I have to be honest, at the beginning, I thought it's a get rich quick scheme. I was like, hey, if I get 100 customers, I make so much money. It doesn't work like that. Jakub knows what I mean. Yeah. And Ruth, you also know what I mean. Yes. Jakub and Ruth, feel free to unmute yourself. But it was.
I remember the first discussion with you about this, and that time it was very optimistic.
Yes, I'm still optimistic. I mean, it's still ticking up, but yes, it made me a better coder and architect. And I think you have to be. Coming back to the money part, or you have to be naive. Every founder of a company has to be naive. If you are not naive, you will never start anything. You have to be a little bit over-optimistic. I mean, if I wouldn't be over-optimistic, I wouldn't have done anything in life. The last one is become inconvenient again, especially after CTA. There was a little bit of sense like, what should I do next? What does make me inconvenient again? And I think becoming inconvenient is important. This is a rule of thumb I have. If I'm not inconvenient, I'm not at the right place. So, but not really why. This is one of my 5-star reviews. It's actually from this week. And I want to show first, network. I get to know people I would never have met otherwise. It's really funny. Most of the people who installs my apps are admins or business users from really big companies. I would never have expected that. So I built a network with people I would never done otherwise. Second is 5 stars really feel good. They feel amazing. Validation from my skills. And lastly, feedback. I learned so much about challenges, about how to build better apps. Because this direct feedback of people who don't know me, who are not part of my company, my team, it's really valuable. I learned that I have to make everything customizable, whatever can be possible. I wouldn't have known that without the apps, because in a business context, it's always filtered through business analysts, product managers, project plan. Here, it's completely unfiltered. And lastly, there's a payoff. Somebody thanking me for fixing their issue, their bug within a couple of minutes and sending me personal thank you notes, it's just invaluable. So I want to say after 6 months, besides, the money, which I did the math on it, I have a break even in 8 years. In 8 years, you will see me make, besides the money part, the payoff, this is what I'm doing it for. The 5-star reviews, getting to know people. So I don't want to focus too much today on the technical side of coding. I want to focus on what actually goes into an app and why it made me a better architect. It's so much more. So first of all, before we go into detail, what is my process of developing an app? This is if I would start an app today. So first, research, lots of research. This is almost the biggest chunk of my work. I built the first POC if this is actually technically possible. Then I designed a solution, which is the second biggest part. And maybe this is the architect in me, but my solutions are usually designed really detailed. So before I write the first line of code, I have a very detailed solution design with even which methods am I going to use, which APIs I'm going to use from Salesforce, which objects, how's the data model, what is customizable, what not, because the coding part, this is actually 3 out of my 4 apps have been coded in one evening. And Jakub, what about you? I mean, your codes your apps are a little bit more complex, but is it the same for you that the coding part is actually the least effort?
Yeah, I did the math, and for the app which I'm going to talk about, I spent 9 calendar days, so like 2 full weekends to be more specific on it.
Yeah, that's simply wow, Johann. I mean, one single evening and all the coding is done. Simply wow.
Yeah, not because I'm such a good coder, I'm actually a bad coder. I put so much time into designing the solution beforehand. So I had all the pseudocode already done. All the methods have been spec'd out, all the, you know what I mean? Because I'm such a bad coder, I have to do it this way.
But that's a great coder, not a bad coder. That's
this is a bad coder.
Excellent coder.
A great coder can do this in their head. I think Meera doesn't have to do it this way.
No, I follow the same, Johann.
You do the same?
I mean, we will take more time in designing and testing the application, actually, not for coding.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I found the longer I think about the app, the less code I need to actually build it.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. You write a pseudocode beforehand, do the flowchart validation, then your code will be like a piece of cake.
Exactly. I have 2 of my apps have 0 Apex code.
All the config. Great. I mean,
all the config, all the JavaScript, Lightning Web Components. So then I do a little bit coding. I get a lot of feedback. This is the important part. UAT testing and security review, which the security review is not as bad as you would think. Just follow the steps Salesforce tells you. Again, do whatever Salesforce tells you. More feedback. And then actually once a month, I do, for each app, I separate 1 weekend per month where I take the feedback and improve the code.
Excellent.
So even within 1 or 2 months, I can have a go live. But all the time you do designing, writing, documentation, marketing, public relations, you wouldn't think how much time goes into that. Actually, way more time. So I don't want to go into detail of that. If you want to, can just take a screenshot here. Just I open it. This is how to get an app to the market. This is actually, this is something I created for my current customer. So what are skills are involved? I want to start at the bottom. Coding, of course. Product management, support. This is my favorite task of it. Project management, architecture, Salesforce knowledge, sales, marketing, and design and copywriting. And I want to share with you how complex it is and how ready I was for it. So coding, it's kind of complex, depends on the app. How ready I was, okay-ish. I still had, I did my homework beforehand. Product management, pretty complex, and I was kind of ready. But now support, I was not ready at all. I had to really learn again how to do first level support with people I don't know. So I can already share one learning I have had along the way with support is I never do email support. I immediately jump on a call with the people. Maybe some other people here in the call would give me their feedback there. How do they do the same, or because
that's the best one. That's the best one. Instead of email, jump into the call and find out the feedback. I think that's the best approach for sales and everything. That's the best approach.
So what I usually do is somebody reports a bug, even if it's okay. 90% of the bugs is they forget to add the permission set. Instead of me writing back, you stupid customer, not, you know what I mean? Like I say, let's jump on a call. Then I do 15 minutes of chit chat with them to get to know them, build a relationship. Then in 1 minute, we fix the issue. We add the permission set. And then I do another 15 minutes of chit chat. What I got out of the 30 minutes is a customer for life. I know it doesn't scale well, but this is something very important for me. I learn how random companies around the world work. I know now how one of the biggest American companies organized the internal service department. I would never have known otherwise. So I see support as a way to get to know my customers. It's not something I dread. I actually look forward to every bug. Sounds weird, but next one is project management. Jakub will talk about that a little bit later, but how to get it actually done. This is not easy. You have to make sure that you get it live. Architecture. This is coming back. The better you know Salesforce, the better you know Salesforce architecture, the easier and the better your app will become. And I became so much better architect. I learned so much about Salesforce and the underlying technology by building apps. Again, Salesforce knowledge, because if you build something, you have to know how it fits into the whole architecture again and how Salesforce works. Okay, one of my apps is around the knowledge and the Salesforce knowledge database. I want to say, I thought I know a lot about it, but now I know so much more about it. Lastly, sales. I was absolutely not prepared for that. And if anybody here in the room is a good sales guy or saleswoman, please come to me, help me selling.
Yeah, you are the best salesperson, the way you are presenting.
Yes.
I mean, I can make it out from that.
No, I have one issue. I can't get people to sign the contract. For some reason, this is, I don't get ink on the paper. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that. I know. I mean, I can share my experience. I mean, working with the team, I can definitely, we'll take it offline. I can share that with you, Johann.
This would be great. And lastly, marketing. This is how Ruth and I met. Marketing, I have no idea. I actually spend a lot of time on it, and design and copywriting the same. Ruth already shared a few things. So how does this all translate into why it made me a better architect? Why you're all here? Product management. Architecture, Salesforce architecture is not technical architecture. This is something I think Jakub here jumped in, but we both realized during our CTA preparation. It's as much as product management plus technical knowledge. You agree there, Jakub? Is it hard?
Definitely.
The same is for project management. Architecture always has an element of project management. Because you have the best architecture has no value if you can't get it to work. Marketing. If we are architects, and I learned it more and more the bigger the projects I work in, I have to sell, I have to market my architecture to stakeholders, to CTOs, to CMOs, to CFOs, but also to CEOs or to internal stakeholders. So by me getting better in, for example, copywriting, like what Ruth said, instead of saying we will use a REST API to import the JSON from the backend system, I would say we have a flexible end-to-end solution. Is this correct, Ruth? Did I put it right?
That's perfect. I love it. Get it up there. Let's do it.
Yes. So this is what I learned here. Like translate, because I did realize something. Who actually buys my apps? It's the business people. It's not the admins. The business people have to be convinced. Admins always like my apps, but they don't have a credit card. So they have no value, unfortunately. Design and copyright. We have to communicate architecture. Support. This is, you wouldn't be, Jakub will jump in, and you wouldn't be surprised how funny some orgs are. Just a fun fact here. the knowledge objects API name is different in some orgs. You can't rely on the API name of the knowledge object. Sometimes it's called knowledge __ KAV. Sometimes it's called knowledge _ article _ KAV. I never would have known that.
Is it not at just the old version?
No,
No, I mean, Johann, I mean, we can find, I'm sorry to, cut you short over there. We can find it out from the, what you call the data model, right? I mean, Salesforce cannot be inconsistent in those areas.
It is inconsistent. It is.
Oh, okay. It's my learning. Thank you.
Yes, and this was also my learning because one customer told me, I have a bug, the app doesn't work. And I was like, why? And then I looked at the app and the data model, like you say, schema builder, the object has a different API name. And I found out that there was a 6 month period during Salesforce enabling the new knowledge that customers actually could choose the API name themselves.
See, I mean, if I understand a little bit of classic and the lightning knowledge and classic knowledge, I mean, they might have the data model and things, the object name different, but I hope now it got settled. I mean, I would like to, if you say I would like to create a Salesforce ticket, I mean, I'd like to, talk to Salesforce to find out more about it, but it must be consistent from the Salesforce perspective. That's my take.
Yeah, but it wasn't. So as an AppExchange developer, you learn. And the last one is I got so much better in coding because developing apps sometimes forces you to write in a very specific way. For example, I had to write all my code, or I write all my code now object agnostic. Jakub, maybe you agreed, or you know what I mean? Because I don't know where my apps are used on which object. So I have a custom metadata where the user can define what object it is used on. So it made me better coder. And what is next for me now? I use the experience actually for my consulting work. I will build more complex apps. The first 4 apps I built have been like weekend projects. Now the next apps will be bigger. Some of them will take 2 weekends or 3 weekends. And lastly, I will have fun. I mean, I still enjoy it every day to be an AppExchange. It's just a fun project to be in. And maybe at one day I can live off it. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's try. What should be next for you if you actually want to get started? So first of all, be naive and be over optimistic. Jakub remembers, and it's important. If you're not, you will never start. Do the trailhead, start to finish, build apps on the AppExchange as a partner. It costs nothing to register as a partner. Actually, you get a lot of perks with it. Jakub will talk about that later. Learn product management and project management. It never hurts anyway. Research. There's nothing. Okay, one lesson I learned is, there's many lessons I learned. One lesson I learned is my ideas are actually really bad. Only the customer matters. My ideas completely miss the market 100% of the time. I have to listen to the market. And lastly, keep it as simple as possible, really, really simple. Every time I added complexity, I almost got nothing out of it but problems. And with that, I want to conclude for today and maybe hand over to Jakub, or if you have any specific questions right now, should we do it? What is the reason for that? Maybe. Abhinav, what was the question there?
Yeah, hello, John, everyone. The question is the knowledge object API names. I think you said that there is a different knowledge update coming that caused the different API names, right?
No, it was in the past when it was enabled at the beginning, like 6 or 7 years ago, when they introduced the lightning knowledge. It's only for very specific orgs. There's maybe a couple of 100 orgs in the world where the API name is different.
Okay. And is it just 2 or is it more than 2 different API names?
You can, it's unlimited because the customer back then could choose which API name the object should have.
Wow, that's a brave step by Salesforce, actually.
I think it was somebody who was part of the beta or something. You know what I mean? It was some, but this is something you, as an AppExchange partner, you learn that orgs are not as consistent as we would like them to be. I mean, Ruth can speak of that, I guess, from her experience.
That's a great learning. That's a great learning, Johann. That's a great learning.
Okay. Thanks a lot. How did I decide what to charge for my apps? Completely randomly, and I haven't figured it out yet what's the perfect price. And I think, Ruth, you agree that this is the hardest part about apps. Pricing is almost, there's nothing but trial and error, correct?
Yeah, trial and error. We've had a few different pricing models over the years. I think one thing to keep in mind, Meera's probably heard this before, is that keep your pricing model customer centric. So if you price in a way where it's X for number of Y, well, is the number of Y something that your customer can easily find out? Can they know exactly, okay, I can work out how much this is going to cost me? Or are you charging something that makes sense for you as a business? Actually, your pricing model needs to be customer centric. Are you charging monthly? Is it kind of aligned with how they're already used to being charged by Salesforce? So things like that. Try and make it as familiar and as customer centric as possible.
And how did I decide which sector domain to target? I did it easily. I sorted the idea exchange and sorted by most upvoted ideas who are still open. This is an easy way of finding demand, because what people already vote on. So my most popular app is the knowledge article PDF export. So it's a button which exports the knowledge article as a PDF. Is one of the most voted ideas on the idea exchange. And it's quite popular because if you have that, if you have that issue, you have that issue. Yeah. But whatever you makes fun. I mean, my second most popular app is the Fabulous Confetti. It's just too much fun to program.
Love that. Yeah,
everybody loves that app, and me too. So if friends ask me what I do for a living, sometimes I tell them I program confetti.
I think there's almost something to be said about switching that question around. It's almost asking the wrong way around. How do you decide which sector or industry to target? Well, I think you need to start by listening first. Is there a problem in a particular industry that you know well? Like starting with it the other way around, I think might be beneficial there.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my apps, the product Big Select, for example, was an idea I had without listening, and I can say it completely bombed. Nobody cared about it. I got really great feedback on the UX and the idea itself, but the product itself did not succeed at all. I want to be honest there.
Yeah, I would like to say one thing, Johann. I mean, you need to see the marketing. Now we are in the very uncertain time, right? I mean, what are the industries that are doing well at this moment? You need to pick up, problem from that particular industry. So if you talk about the hospitality right now, if you talk about the traveling, hospitality, and all these industries are not doing well. I mean, entertainment not doing well. So rather you create more apps towards the B2B, B2C, or the other industries. You can find it out from the net, right? I mean, which of the industries are doing good or bad. I would prefer that. I mean, even the supply chain or something, I mean, they are heavily hit by the, this COVID and everything. So I prefer that.
Or something, for example, I was thinking just random thoughts. Why not build something like financial services just for yoga studios? A yoga studio, because I like yoga studios. Why not a yoga studio app? Something
Yeah, absolutely.
Or something like something for schools, for example. My partner is a teacher. They would love to have something for schools, but the Salesforce Education Cloud only fits for American schools, but not for European schools. But thanks a lot, Jakub. Maybe I can hand over to Jakub now.
Okay, sure. So let me share my screen. Hope that you already see my beautiful SAIMA presentation. So to summarize why I'm here, besides the fact that Johann asked me to be here, my main job is in Aquiva Labs. We are product development outsourcers, and our customers are mighty but powerful ISVs and generally different kind of ISVs. So on a daily job, I'm leading projects for startups when at the end we go through security review and publish brand new apps on the AppExchange. But as well, we are helping big ISVs with different kind of problems. So if you have like corporate scale application with 10 years of legacy, and you have any kind of problem, we are like first contact when you can come with any kind of questions, and then we are trying to find the right answers. So generally, AppExchange is the place where I spent last 6 years. But the reason why I'm here today is the fact that I'm generally doing pet project and coding from beginning of the high school. As part of my daily job, of course, I do not do any development on my own anymore. So one day I decided to build something from scratch, and it's how Formula Debugger has happened. It's this beautiful slide on the right. So it's like super simple app, which was designed for my personal needs. And the reason was super simple. I never had to use formula fields. I found them a little bit messy. And when I have a customer with like very big formulas, getting into it, I found a very painful experience. So the app just allows you to pick the object, the field, populate some test data on the fly, and then generate like some kind of the color, syntax. You can click something, it calculates the value for your test data and so on. So it's like purely developer/admin, very simple app. And why? So how it happened that it happened? First of all, Trailhead is great in many areas of Salesforce, but you cannot get your hands dirty in ISV-related topics. So generally, you can read about managed packages and so on, but you cannot really play with it on this level, which generally will be nice. The main problem on some level when you are architect is that you don't want to do everything on your own, right? You want to train people, you want to educate your team members. And if you don't have this Trailhead experience, which allow them to create an org, the question is how you can demonstrate something. Similar, how you can demo something to your customers. If I'm working with startup and they are going to submit their own app in the next week for a security review, I would like to show them how the publishing console looks like. And what can I do? Show them the production org of my previous customers? Not really. You can do it once and then you are fired. You can give them link to some screenshots from Trailhead. Again, it's not optimal experience. Having simple app on the AppExchange, which is my intellectual property, just give me a very useful tool for all of this situation when I need to educate somebody about something. And last but not least, pet projects are always funny. So like, it's a nice way if you are an architect and most of your time is on Lucidchart or PowerPoint to really do something end-to-end on your own hands. In terms how to start, pick the idea which is small. The Johann's proposition with idea exchange is nice, and like it's immediately validate that the problem which you are thinking about is not artificial. Don't go for something big. If it's going to be your first project, definitely smaller is better. If you want to build anything, you know, hour of thinking and planning can save you a week of manual clicking in the keyboard. And it's basic of the architecture and it works perfectly fine here. So before you start doing any development, use some Jira, Trello, whatever, gather your ideas. Then day after, go through potential tickets one more time, do some kind of the tracking for your own and try to define this MVP as really some small but consistent product with like minimum set of features which make sense. And before you start doing any development, submit your business plan to Salesforce. I've seen a few very nice apps. And first of all, if you want to sell your app and have any kind of the incomes, you should keep in mind that you are going to be a Salesforce partner. So generally, Salesforce must approve that they are interested in this kind of the partnership. If you spend like few months on doing development and then because of some legal reasons or whatever, you will find that they are not willing to sell your product, that's a big problem. But if you are starting a free development, you want to publish something for free, I remember that there is one very nice replacement of developer console, like more fancy UI, something with Angular and so on. And the story of guy who did it is fact that he firstly spent months on this, then tried to submit it for a security review, and Salesforce just responded that they are not interested in publishing this kind of product on AppExchange. And again, like, hello, where is last 5 months of my life, right? So generally, if you make this definition of your business plan / product description in advance, submit it, wait a few days, and confirm that generally then you can publish it. Because always when you are starting something, know in advance what is your plan. And today we are speaking about publishing the app on the AppExchange, right? Not about just building the managed package. How to get things done? If we have this MVP scope, very small and consistent, Johann's app with 1 day are like the best what you can do just to practice this whole AppExchange experience. In my case, I had 5 Apex classes plus tests, 6 Lightning Web components. So like I checked my commit history and it was like 9 calendar days, literally 2 weekends, 5 days between them, less than 40 hours. And I would say it was funny for me because as well as somebody who was developer for a long time, not doing development, like writing this code was a very nice, fun and joy for me. But if you want to just practice this whole AppExchange experience, definitely it can be even something smaller. Anyway, if you want to do something bigger than few days, you should set timeline and project milestones. Word and GitHub are full of the great ideas for projects which never happen, because if you want to do something and plan it for 3 months, believe me, after 1 month you are going to be sick, maybe, I don't know, your dog is going to be sick, whatever, something happened, you have new project in your work, and then it never happened. And getting things done, even if it's a small thing, is much better than just starting and stopping in the middle. And keeping in mind the timeline which Johann showed you, generally you know that you need to spend some time at beginning to prepare the idea of the product. You have to submit the business plan, do some coding, then make submission for the security review and so on. So you can in advance think about this timeline. And you know, it can be very simple Excel, but generally if you know that your plan was to finish development in 2 weeks and make submission, then after 2 weeks, you should have a reminder in your Google Calendar to check why you don't really want to finish this project which you started, and remember what was your initial motivation. If it's your first time with security review, it's not very scary, but you should study about it before you start development and keep technical requirements in mind all the time. One of the biggest challenges are existing ISV partners who passed, for example, security review like 5 years ago. And then the architect who helped them left the company, his replacement left the company, and now they have a team of 10 guys doing just Salesforce development without any knowledge about the security review. And one day you're receiving beautiful email with information that Salesforce is kindly asking you to resubmit your application, and you have like usually 60 days to prepare your full code base for the new security review. And it's when usually we are getting a phone call and people are asking what to do with this, because it can be a disaster for your whole company. But luckily with the small project, you can just start with this approach in mind that your code must be secure. And then it doesn't take lots of extra efforts when you just do it on the daily basis. And next milestone for you is preparation of documentation for the review process. So generally you have to scan your code with some automatic scanner, prepare some official documentation and so on. It's not difficult. You have for this very good Trailhead module, and generally it's nice to practice it once. And the most important is that through all this process to have fun, because if you are doing it after hours, then definitely you should just enjoy it from day 1 to the last day. What are the benefits? Like if we are starting with this aim, why, right? Why, especially from my perspective, when I did this security review many times for my customers, it was my first personal experience. First of all, you have a nice environment.
What is that? I never saw that.
Oh, yeah, happy that you joined my presentation. So you can install on your environment hub/partnerbusiness.org lots of nice stuff. The license management app, it's something which allows you to track licenses and generally orgs which are using your application. You have something called App Analytics, which allow you to download statistics about your app. I'm going to speak about it soon. If you are selling your app, there is channel order app. So generally the way how you communicate with Salesforce, how much do you sell, how do you do bookkeeping and so on. And nicest of them, a package visualizer is like the special app for second generation of the packages. So instead of using complex command line, you have a nice app which can show you, for example, the history of the versions, all subscribers. So it's like at the top of this license management app. You can use it to make push upgrade from your org and so on. The main benefit, First of all, data model of all of them is consistent across any ISV product. So if, for example, I have a customer who wants to make enhancements to their sales process with Salesforce, so make development at top of channel or their app, having opportunity to firstly check this model on some org is very beneficial for me. If you have any kind of the existing customer who already passed this product and is making new version and they are studying how to push updates to end customers, you can do it from command line, but showing them that there is a fancy app which just allow them to do it from the user interface, again, is game changer. And it's something what you as architect working on ISV industry, you should know this because your customer really need this kind of the small enhancement. The next thing that there are standard Salesforce apps with standard objects. So you can do everything what you want in terms of both automation, but reporting. So here in 1 minute, you can have, for example, beautiful report showing you how many orgs are using which number of version of your app. So like if we are setting some kind of the evaluation of existing ISV, the first step is to check are all your customers are using the latest version, or maybe you're supporting last 10 versions, and then it's a totally different conversation if you want to make some bug fix and so on, right? So generally, as part of the architecture, you should always keep in mind governance, release management. And with this kind of the tools, you can easily find what is potentially the problem and how to improve this whole DevOps part of the company lifecycle. You have lots of new fancy toys, and as IT geek, it's something what we always want to do, right? Generally, get hands dirty and play with something. So very positive experience is when you register your application on the AppExchange and it automatically creates leads in your Salesforce org, and you see the name of the guy who just downloaded your app. It's awesome. Second thing, you can make this push upgrade. So generally, after you found some ugly bug, and you won't just automatically update all your customers, you can do it via some API or this user interface. First of all, you can use 2 tools for trial experience. And when you think about the existing AppExchange product, of course, you can just download it and install. But if you have a complex product, like let's say CPQ, it's usually not really the option. If this configuration is quite big, you don't want to spend first 2 weeks of preparation to just see how this app is working. So Salesforce is using 2 technologies to improve this trial experience. One is called trial first, second is called test drive. I'm not going to go into details what is what, but generally, if you don't know it, you should be interested because again, it's a very nice tool which is making your life easier, even if you are not making development of ISV, but if you want to evaluate a new product before you install it on your Salesforce org. You can, first time in your life, if you are doing this 2GP stuff, make patch releases. They're a little bit smaller. You cannot add new metadata. They are designed for bug fixes. And technically, it's something what, again, you have to ask Salesforce to enable after you pass the AppExchange review. The nice thing is app analytics log. So generally from day one, after you click publish, you see lots of statistics which Salesforce gather for you. You can go to details like to see which of your classes has been used, what objects are created, deleted, and so on. So like it's super powerful if you want, for example, to verify which parts of your system are heavily used by users and which are only maybe used once a month by one guy. So if you will decide to deprecate it because of some problems with technical debt, it's not going to be so bad situation. And the most exciting for developers is ISV Customer Debugger. Salesforce 3 years ago announced this whole concept of debuggers which allow you to do exactly what you know from, for example, Java was. So really make a stop of the transaction and debug something. For end customers, it's crazy expensive. For ISV, if you have product on AppExchange, you have it for free. So you can install your app on one of the end trial orgs and make this end-to-end debugging session. And probably I'm one of 10 people in the world who ever know how this debugging concept works in Salesforce, because this end customer is so expensive that nobody uses it. And it's nice just to spend some time and see how it has been implemented. The nice thing from the listing perspective is that Salesforce is tracking lots of statistics about your listing. So generally you see how many people came to your app page, how many of them install it, and so on and so on. It's not maybe very important if you are doing it on the very small basis, but it's quite nice ways if you then think about marketing activities or something like that. Immediately you can see what was the output of, for example, putting a post somewhere or writing a blog post and so on. The content itself, it's very simple from technical point of view, but people who want to publish their first app struggle a little bit with this. And like I had literally in this week a question from one of my customers, how we can define terms and conditions when somebody just download app from the AppExchange. The answer is here. You have just few tabs, and it's a place when you can define your whole content for the listing itself. So like access to it allow you to immediately answer this kind of the questions and help your customers understand what's going on. The logs itself, Salesforce give you access via API or apps to download the full list, both on a daily basis, on the monthly summary level, and so on, with, as you see, information like who, when, do what kind of the name of Apex class, what kind of the action, maybe like what kind of the lighting components, what the web browser, what was the country, what was the language, and so on. So like it's super powerful if you think how to design extensions of your app. So it allows you to really focus on what is important from your end customer perspective. And going through this kind of the CSV on your own is maybe not the best experience in the world, but luckily you can then for free use Tableau CRM, put this all CSV data to Tableau CRM, and what you see on the left is diagram of daily unique users. On the right, custom objects created per day. So generally, in a very easy way, you can take lots of very useful information about your application. And if you bring it to the product manager or your sales team or marketing team, they know what to do with this knowledge, right? Generally, you are, as architect, helping people from your company to grow the product from the most useful knowledge, and getting this without going to AppExchange is not possible. Until you go for AppExchange, generally you can only make some blind guess, maybe some survey, but all of this is starting to be gathered for you after you pass the security review.
And can I maybe jump in there? Because what's important there is also for every developer, we always love our features, but when I say I code every weekend for one of my apps, coding also means removing features. So even my small apps, I already removed a couple of features for the apps, which I saw have not been heavily used, and wouldn't include them in future releases anymore, because everything that's not there cannot break.
Nice, good point. Yeah, and it's exactly this kind of the knowledge which you can use for this.
Yes, exactly. Otherwise, I would just guess.
Why, I mean, Jakub, why do you create a custom objects? Yeah, I mean, why? Because you have already the app, right? Your app is allowing to create the custom objects, or what?
No, it's like just these two charts came just from the internet as the purpose. The logs came from my app, and it's very fair point that my app is not creating any DMS and so on.
Oh, no,
so like,
that I understood. That I'm not talking about the log, but I'm talking about, yeah, I understood that. So you are trying to find out who are the people who installed your app. I mean, creating the custom objects a little bit. Why? Because your app I should be having installed with your namespace. It's going to create the custom object for once. It's not going to create the custom objects for every, I mean, now and then.
This chart is going to be a little bit more about the records. So generally, custom object is like the name of the what you see here. So is name of one object, name of another object, and they are like real records related to this object. When you see that the session type is created much more often comparing to the object tag. But this particular two graphs came from the Salesforce documentation. They are not generated based on my app because, as you said, like on my level, I do not make any DMS. So this kind of the statistic for me are not what I can easily get from these logs. And I can only focus, on the Apex part in this.
And I want to jump in my personal apps, for example, the app analytics are almost useless, because what you would expect from something like Google Analytics, where my apps mostly are Lightning Web components, like UI components, like Jakub's as well. I don't do much DMLs. So I can and unless you program something yourself, there's no way to track like how often is this Lightning Web Component loaded, how often is confetti fired. I would have to write my own tracking there. Or like I'm honestly a little bit disappointed by Salesforce how little analytics they provide us. What about you, Jakub?
I would say that it strongly depends on how complex their application. And personally, I'm finding this as the entry point when I'm making evaluation of the existing application. Because like, and you know, it's evaluation both from the consulting point of view, but if let's say you are just starting to work as architect on existing product, you want to understand the whole picture, and it's super helpful. In case if you have an app which is just one button or just one component, then of course it's a little bit different story, right? You can go to some level of details and then check which classes and which components are called, but this granularity, I agree that it's not like so deeply useful for you.
It depends. That's you want. It depends on the time of app. Yeah. So
Exactly.
I'm still confused about. I mean, are you getting it over here for the subscriber, or all the analytics and all the charts are coming from the subscriber org, right? I mean, I'm little bit, because I understand the Apex code part. That's okay. I mean, you can get the, okay.
You are starting on your environment hub, which is usually your partner business org, and you are pulling it via API. So there is like a button, request app analytics, and Salesforce is making API call to all your subscribers org to get this data, and you can download it either as CSV files, or there are like few different formats, and then it's the CSV which you download, and you can put it, for example, on Tableau CRM to make.
That I understood. But my question is that you are not allowed to, download the log file of other package, right? It's going to give you the log file of your package and your application. Salesforce is allowing you to. Yeah. So I was just trying to come to that. Thank you very much.
As an ISV, you have surprisingly much insight into the orgs of the people who install your app. I was surprised how much I saw. Do you agree, Jakub, there?
Definitely, and like, you know, doing this exercise once, even if you are working on end customer org, help you to understand what really going on with all of this AppExchange, right? How security really is, right? If you want, from moment when somebody install your app, you can in post-installation script try to delete all opportunities from the org. And if you see how easy it is to get this partnership and publish your app, again, it's a little bit helping to make right decision. Is it worth to install just random apps from the internet which are free or not? And I think I have it on my last slide. So like, just quickly, another profit is that there is something called AppExchange Marketing application, which is not related to the development itself, but it's more about promotion of your AppExchange listing. So again, if you have customers who are willing to do this kind of the stuff, or marketing team, it's something what you can help them to understand how it works and generally what can be done to promote your product, but what it means for architects. And first of all, exactly as you said, this security and access to end customer orgs can be a little bit surprising. So like, it's good to do it once to understand end to end what kind of the power you give people just by installing their app. Doing it first time with small projects give you a nice first step to designing real in complex, like, you know, scales and so on apps for the AppExchange. If you have architectural background and some even simple ISV background, it's literally a very nice niche to be in nowadays, definitely. Comparing to normal Salesforce industry, when you have quite lots of architects, on the AppExchange, finding somebody who can do simple workshop with customers and end-to-end go through them through the security review, it's still a challenge for me as a hiring manager. Using some tools first time ever, like for me, I never find a good use case for a test drive. I thought that my app is going to be perfect because I do not make any DMLs, right? At the end, I found that not, because as part of implementation, I use standard Salesforce UI API with check permission, and even test if it's not working on my app, but it was very nice learning experience. And of course, it depends on implementation. If I will do it different way, it will be nice to enable it. But most of all, 3 topics about empathy and communication. Having this kind of experience help you to build trust with your customers. If they want to go through this process and build something, you can help them to understand how it looks like. You can better understand your vendor. So if you are using app developed by different company and they have some problem to deliver you something, or there are some like technical limitation, generally from this moment, you are going to easier understand their point of view, and you can better understand your end users who are going to use this kind of the apps. And last but not least, it's very nice for training of your own employees and so on. So being the only person in the company who know all of these steps is nice, but then having 2 new folks who can learn from you and doing it, and you can focus on more important things, is even better. And I hope that, yeah, I covered together with Johann most important stuff. So thank you a lot. And if you have any questions, it's the perfect moment to ask.
Thank you so much, Jakub and Johann. I think we answered most of the question on the fly itself, but if you have any more questions, please share on chat, or you can unmute and you ask yourself.
And until then, I have a question for Ruth. What's your view on what we just presented on? What's your thoughts on that?
That's a big question. I think it when you are kind of starting to build an app and you're a 1-person band and you have so much control and flexibility, and we're not a big team, but even compared to your experience, you're in such a privileged position. Yes, it's a huge workload, but I think what's even struck me from where you're at to where our small ISV company is at, there's so much flexibility there to listen and to adapt and to respond and to be agile. And we talk about being agile and be able to change things and test things quickly. And I think at a company level we do, but at the stage that you're at, God, I'm so jealous that, you know, I think that's what struck me the most about this conversation is that the sheer amount of agility and like responsiveness that you can have, that you can pick up a phone and call a customer and learn so much from that. But that was, you know, we can't offer phone support to most of our customers. We have to do it by email because we just wouldn't be able to cope. Our team of 1.5 support staff wouldn't be able to cope with the kind of over 3,000 people that use any of our free or premium products. So I think in some ways I'm kind of jealous at this stage that you're at is what struck me the most, really.
Yeah, this is something which maybe is one of the, we talked about it, that you have to you have to embrace who you are. So I cannot build complex apps, but I can react incredibly fast to customer feedback. So you saw the one feedback on the AppExchange where I got 5-star review, but still the person asked for one more feature, and I could turn around and 4 hours later had the feature live on the AppExchange. This is what I have to embrace. You know, I jumped on a call with this customer, asked like, what do you want to have? This customer immediately showed me. While we talked about it, I designed it, I programmed it, I released it, and everybody was happy. But this is, yeah, I have to be who I am.
Super exciting, yeah, really like
Yes.
it.
Super question. What does Salesforce ask from an ISV if you do simple free apps? Surprisingly little. Like just follow the trailhead and you are done within 2 weeks and you have your first app live in 2 to 4 weeks.
And it's a tricky question because like officially you have to have a company, right? That, to be honest, together with Johann, we are both like owners of self-employment companies. But if you take a look on this form, I believe that if you want to make something really nasty, you can just put there a fake name of the company. And I doubt if they are going to make any validations.
I had to provide a piece of paper. So in Germany, it's free to set up a company, and it takes like literally 5 minutes. So I have my company since years, like Jakub said. I think almost here in this call has their own company anyway from some time of freelancing. I wanted to add something is, do you know, outside of the Salesforce world, if you're a normal web developer, you have something like a portfolio, you know what I mean? Or graphic designers. And I think having an app on the AppExchange is almost like our way of showing our portfolio.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be successful. It's a marketing tool foremost. So, but also treat it that way. If you have bad reviews, it reflects bad on you.
No, I mean, but no, it's okay. I mean, still you are showcasing, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether the review, I mean, obviously, I mean, like you jumping to the customer and finding out the feedback and implementing back in that one, that's excellent. But if you have a bad review, even that's your showcasing. I mean, not everybody is going to like, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, somebody is like for the UI. I mean, if you consider the people's choice, I mean, that's my understanding.
People are really nice on the internet, Salesforce world. Yeah, we don't know about your Ruth and Jakub's experience. The only way you get bad review is if you provide bad customer support. This is the only thing people are really hostile about.
Fully agree.
As long as you react, like if I have a bug and I fix the bug within a couple of days, people are always giving me 5-star review. Nobody ever said there was a bug in the first place. They will always write, oh, he reacted fast. Ruth, what is your experience there?
Yeah, absolutely. People are more inclined to write a bad review when it's kind of emotionally charged, and something that isn't in the product isn't emotionally charged, but having a bad experience with another human or some sort of bad relationship which is emotionally charged is going to lead to a bad review, and they can be really detrimental. Even 500 great reviews and one bad review right at the top, like it does affect your reputation.
Abhinav, would you like to share something?
Yeah, thank you. So I was just putting it into the chat as well. I was saying that somebody who is having prospects or guys who are ready to try the app, don't wait for the entity incorporation or signing up as partner. You can use any DevOps to upload a managed package and at least get a validation. As Johann said, like validation is very important. Like how worthy is your idea? If they love it, that will give more confidence.
One important thing, if you want to do it first time, don't use Debug to build what they call first GP package, because then if your idea is going to be successful, you are going to have lots of problems with this decision. Literally go to the tailhead, learn about 2GP, create environment hub and do it correctly from first time. It's not like, you know, you are going to learn something new in 2 hours and then you are going to save months of solving problems with migration to 2GP and so on.
Yeah. Nevertheless, I agree that you still can do the same way. People can install the app without you going through security review. I think, is it Picshare, the company from the French guy? I always forget the name. He's really successful now, but his app was not on the AppExchange for the first 1 or 2 years. He had a really long validation.
Yeah, and you know, please keep in mind, if you want to sell your product, generally being on AppExchange costs money. Then from this moment, Salesforce is charging percentage of your fee, right? It's totally okay to build managed packages and sell them out of the AppExchange. What you are losing, first of all of these extra features which we've spoken about today. Second, some kind of the credibility. Fact that you didn't pass the security review means that your app can be full of anything, right? And last but not least, fact that you have this AppExchange listing generally is some kind of the marketing and promotion for you. So I believe that if you are working in very niche industry and you have direct access to your all customers, yeah, maybe staying out of the AppExchange is okay from financial perspective. But if you want to scale this business, sooner or later, definitely it's worth to go through it.
Yeah, absolutely agree with Giuseppe here. Avoid 1GP as a first generation managed package. Second, I never did it. I did only second generation packaging. It's really nice. I can share the same namespace. So all my apps have the same namespace. So let's say coming further in the future, I develop some base boilerplate. I know analytics code, for example, I can share them between my apps, for example.
Yeah, right. Vinab, I have a question. You talked about without what Jakub is mentioning that you need to have a company, right? I mean, that's more important, a valid company, what Johann is also talking about. But if you as a freelancer create a component and you cannot list it on the AppExchange because there's a page where they are going to ask you about your company validation address and everything. I mean, you cannot install, I mean, go further, top of that. That's my understanding.
No,
Maybe
they
wrong.
can.
so.
No, they can install without AppExchange. I do this often.
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
So what I do when I develop is I develop my apps, and this is the beta testing phase. I package them as it would be the same namespace, but I release them as not release them. I send the link to a couple of people that can install it in their production order, but they are not on the AppExchange app. Like Ruth agrees there. It's so-called beta
No,
apps.
Jan, I'm not talking about that. I'm asking about that whether without a valid company, I mean, establishment, can you go ahead and do publish an app on AppExchange? That's what Jakub, talked about. We cannot do that, right?
No,
you
no,
have
you
to
can't.
fill some form, and in this form you have to put company name and so on.
Yeah,
What's
right.
bothering
Absolutely.
me, I have a feeling that Salesforce is not really checking it if you are talking about free apps. And if you will put just some random name of non-existing company, I would expect that there's a chance that anyway they are going to accept this. And I see it, to be honest, as a problem from security point of view, because it means that then your app,
So what we take
Fully
away
agree.
there is I don't say that I don't want to go as far as say Salesforce doesn't do their homework. Maybe they check, we don't know. Let's put it this way. But as an architect, if I install app, I still have to do my due diligence. This is maybe the takeaway. I cannot say, hey, Salesforce validated that app. Like, I have to still do my due diligence. I have to check if the company is valid. So this is why, for example, for a long time, I didn't have a website. But then Vinay actually told me, said, set up a website. The website does not have any info, which is not on the AppExchange, but just to show you're a proper company. Build trust with people. And I will do the same now. Ever since I developed my first apps, I judge apps which I install for my customers way more harshly.
Yeah, but that's fine. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Meera, you talked about that you use second generation packaging, so we use the same namespace. Can you maybe share a little bit on details? I'm curious.
No, this is part of our company development. We are developing a product for our which can be shared with multiple customers, but we want to keep it in the same namespace. So when we analyzed, we found like that is possible only through 2GP. That's why we started with 2GP.
The only reason to use 1GP is either that you have old existing product on 1GP and then migration is not possible yet. But if you are starting a new app with 1GP, it's like starting a new front-end development with visual first pages. It's immediately screaming that you just have no skills for writing web components. And it's in 99% cases, the only reason to do this. Are there, of course, some very small edge cases when something is not supported yet on 2GP? And if, for example, you want to build a nice app and add in-app guidance, you can do this in 2GP world yet.
Maybe one thing I would like to add as a one-person band, my apps are not a one-person band. So I'm actually part of a huge team. So Ruth is my consultant for marketing. Yes. So code review, I literally sent out the link to my when I release when I build an app, I send out the link to my GitHub repository to random people. Jakub was one of them, but also people I don't know, and ask them to do code review. And you would be surprised, almost everybody did it so far. So marketing material, also that the code, the text was people proofread it for me. I've spent $50 on Fiverr for somebody to design my logo. So even if you're a one-person band, you don't have to do everything yourself. Ask the community. The community is extremely helpful. Somebody created a YouTube marketing video for my app without me asking even. It was so cute. It's still better than anything I could ever do. So Jakub, who supported you in your app?
Mostly I was sharing it as well with my colleagues. So like it's, the development, it can be done on your own, but there is lots of stuff with especially getting feedback and so on. And you cannot just publish something what you only did the development and you are the only person who ever seen this, because then there is a big chance that nobody else is going to be able to use this app, right? You always need some kind of the testing, feedback, validation, and so on.
Maybe something else I copied from Amazon here. I call it Twitter-led development. So before I start writing code, I create mocks. Also, I create fake screenshots or fake GIFs, and I publish them on Twitter. And only if I get 5 or more likes on Twitter, I actually start coding.
Yeah, that's the best marketing strategy. I mean, it used is a very old marketing strategy. I mean, I think that's, I read somewhere. I mean, that's the best way in the United States or America. They do it like that. I mean, before actually going for the product, they do the fake marketing and to see get the review. I mean, or get the impression out of the product or thing. So I know. I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe how many of my GIFs completely tanked on Twitter and I never developed. And the second learning is a feature, maybe Ruth, I would be interested in your feedback. A feature has to be simple enough to be understood in 5 seconds in a GIF without text.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. We always say you need to be able to describe a whole solution in 1 sentence. Like, and we never did. And I was like, guys, we can't spend a paragraph. No one is going to read a paragraph. No one's going to read a whole sentence. They'll look at a GIF, they'll read 3 words. How can we pitch that? That's your challenge.
So with Jakub's screenshot, I immediately know what the app is doing.
It's the beauty of having app with only one screen. Then it's, yeah.
So who in the group is up for developing their own app? Who already has an idea and why would they want to go about it? I would be curious.
I want to go.
You become CTA first. Didn't we talk about that?
Yeah, no. I mean, I can become a CTA, but as I understand that, I mean, because I got stuck with the Lightning Web Component. And because I did not speak, I have already been talking to Salesforce, and I am trying to, because I am at this moment doing the AWS solution architect, and what I am planning to, the AWS, you have to create everything from the scratch. You have a web server and everything. I want to portray Lightning Web Component OSS, means open feature, and I'm going to LWC dev, but I'm failing even with the web components. Also, it's failing to create a simple app, hello.js, hello.html. I'm getting n number of errors. Put it in the Stack Exchange, and Salesforce is not helping me even. So I'm really very frustrated for last 1 month to get that running. So I'm speaking to a number of people. They are not at all helping me. I mean, I really find it difficult. I mean, I do love the Salesforce Ohana and that, culture, but I think sometimes it's very tough to get the correct solution, or people are even on the, Stack Exchange. That my experience for the last more than 8 or 9 years. I mean, people are, don't give much out. I mean, which you are doing one. I mean, you are doing an excellent thing. That's why I really love. I mean, I always join because you really share what matters. I mean, lot many people in the blogs, they don't share what matters at the end of the day. They share all the rubbish and junks. I mean, all the. I see. Apart from a few good people like Andrew, Flowset, and Kier Bowden, they are sharing the authentic one. I mean, and top up few people, which I know they're the CTA, they're sharing good things, but I don't see that. That's my experience. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe something to add there about, maybe Jakub has the same experience. We get great customers. The products from Salesforce itself are almost bug-free. Once you go into the ISV space, you will encounter I encountered more bugs on the Salesforce side in the last 6 months as an ISV than I encountered my whole career before. There's some, when I switched my app from free to paid, there's still a bug still. Nobody can figure out how to solve it. You know what I mean, Jakub?
Yeah.
And nobody.
You have to understand that being inside of the niche, it's nice from one point of view because you're expert of very niche topics, but on the other hand, you are not top priority for Salesforce to solve it. And believe me or not, I'm so happy that Process Builder is going to be deprecated. I wasted so many years of my life because this technology was so bad for ISVs, like all problems with namespaces and so on. And there's like weeks of waiting for Salesforce support to say, yeah, we know that it's bad, but maybe next release is going to be better. It was so bad experience. And like literally, we stopped using Process Builders 3 years ago, and this was like main part of the architectural review to check that nobody by accident don't want to add a new Process Builder, right? And then like 3 years later, you see that even Salesforce agreed that there are better ways for doing stuff. And in many cases, it's exactly the same what you said, Johann. So Salesforce is designed for end customers, not for ISVs, right? But it's still lots of what they can
Fully
offer
agree.
to you.
Fully agree.
Yeah. So Giuseppe, maybe you can unmute yourself. What is your idea already to build? Do you already have an idea to build something?
As I was writing, it's mainly curiosity, just trying to understand what implies being an ISV, and as Jakub mentioned, having access to the tools to have an idea of how the features are, and yeah. So the idea, I do have some Lightning Web component I created, but just pretty basic stuff.
Maybe an important part
it would be
there.
something that I would put out there as a free thing. It's just really understanding what implies being an ISV, and
yeah, just a fun fact there about the basic stuff. Important. There is no correlation between how hard it is for you to build and how valuable it is for the customer. There's absolutely no correlation.
Sure, that's true.
This is really important to understand. So my one app, the case Quick Close, was one of these evening projects. It's super successful. The product Quick Select, which already took me like 4 or 5 weekends by now, I tried to salvage it somehow, has almost no success. So don't underestimate how valuable simple apps can be.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I have a job and I'm an end customer for Salesforce. I'm not planning quitting the current job. Is just really for the fun, more than for a concrete commercial project. But the fact that I need to create a company just to start is a bit of a barrier.
I'm pretty sure in almost every country by now you can set up these kind of companies in no time. At least in Germany, it costs nothing. And as long as you don't have and as long as in Germany, if you don't have any revenue or just little, it also costs no overhead. So I do all my taxes myself and I do all my bookkeeping, which is like
so maybe you can just open company in Germany. I believe you don't have to be a resident there.
Yeah, so I can share actually what's my long-term plan is to maybe even help smaller people like Giuseppe to come up to me and tell me, hey, you know what? I'm a developer. I have a good app already in place. I know how to code it, and I just help with the publishing part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
Because I think there's space in the market. Like Jakub is doing the other side, they help to code, and I think there's space in the market for, let's say, Ruth, who do the same as Jakub did. Like, oh, we consult on the marketing side of things. You know, Ruth, I'm telling you business ideas here. Anybody else has already any ideas what to develop? Meera, you must have plenty of ideas.
We are doing internal development actually. Those are called accelerators actually, not for AppExchange. But yeah.
Guys, I have to unfortunately go for another call. So thank you for having me today. It was a big pleasure and looking forward to the next session.
Thank you all. I mean, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
It was
you.
a